Could you read us a passage from your new book, Psychonauts, Drugs and the Making of the Modern Mind? You know.
Is there one that you've got in mind?
No, I mean you can pick anyone. I mean, you just write so beautifully that I would just close my eyes and just point at any, and it'll just be a great passage.
One of the points I sort of make in the book is that what we call psychedelics now that arrived in the 1950s, they kind of inhabited a cultural niche that had previously existed. People had been having, as we discussed, these same experiences on drugs that we don't call psychedelic, whether chloroform or hashish or nitrous oxide or whatever. But there's a moment when the first of what we would call major psychedelics arrives right at the very end of the 19th century in the form of peyote. So what happens is that and as I described in my previous book, mescaline, the first ethnographers and doctors start to encounter the peyote cactus among the plains tribes in the southwest and bring them back, and doctors start to experiment with them, particularly in America. Silas Weir Mitchell, who's America's great leading neurologist, and he writes up a beautiful report in the medical journal about his experience, and that's read by a very interesting British figure, Havelock Ellis, who is a doctor, but he's also an art critic and a sort of social progressive and an aesthete, and he's so interested by this description that in his rooms in London he eats dissolves a few peyote buttons, breaks them up in water and drinks them down, and has the first really full-on psychedelic experience. I write a little bit about his description of that. Ellis began with a careful ethnography of the cactus's indigenous use in tribal Mexico, noting that the Tarahumara people treated it as a god and celebrated it with a fantastic and picturesque dance. He experienced it, however, as a procession of, quote, what might be called living arabesques, a saturnalia of the specific senses, and above all an orgy of vision in which he inhabited a world of dazzling colours, shapes and textures. So this is Ellis. The visions never resembled familiar objects. They were extremely definite, but yet always novel. They were constantly approaching, yet constantly eluding the semblance of known things. I would see thick, glorious fields of jewels, solitary or clustered, sometimes brilliant and sparkling, sometimes with a rich, dull glow. Then they would spring up into flower shapes beneath my gaze, and then seem to turn into gorgeous butterfly forms or endless folds of glistening, iridescent, fibrous wings of wonderful insects. Remembering that its indigenous adepts kept a fire brightly burning through their mescal rites, he turned on the gas lighting. As the shadows flared, pulsed, and took on a life of their own, Ellis was reminded of the paintings of Claude Monet, and as I gazed at the scene, it occurred to me that mescal perhaps produces exactly the same conditions of visual hyperesthesia, or rather exhaustion, as may be produced on the artist. He drew extensively on his vast store of artistic references, comparing the visions to exquisite porcelain objects, or the Maori style of architecture, or the delicate effects of lace carved in wood, which we associate with the Mukrabieh work of Cairo. Recollecting the experience in tranquility, he decided that, quote, if ever it should chance that the drinking of mescal becomes a habit, the favourite poet of the mescal drinker will certainly be Wordsworth, who described perfectly the halo of beauty which it casts around the simplest and commonest things.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.